Over the past decade, there has been a growing desire in San Francisco communities to preserve not only the city's architectural heritage, but the living history that's embodied in our legacy businesses, our festivals, events, traditions, all these things that really contribute to the city's cultural heritage.
As a city, our landmarks are very much associated either with high architecture or mostly the history of white communities in San Francisco. So there's been a movement within the field of preservation to bring in new stories, bring in new people.
I think that the attempt to reach a larger constituency in the city is a major change since I worked at Heritage, and one that had to happen.
Is historic preservation about just saving buildings? Is it about preserving beautiful architecture? That's what we've been so good at doing over our past 50 years. But the conversation really was changing.
We often talk about tangible heritage and intangible heritage. Tangible heritage would refer to elements of the built environment, like historic buildings, parks. When we talk about intangible heritage, we're talking about elements of our culture.
Intangible cultural heritage includes non-physical characteristics like customs and traditions,
Dance, music,
languages and artistic expressions, and even cuisine.
And so over recent years, we've started to look at, are we saving the spaces in which intangible heritage can happen?
This is the heart of the mission. Specifically, we are standing in Balmy Alley, and this alley is important because the muralist movement began here. It tells the story of the fights that the community has had to endure to survive. We have one or two murals that are from the 60s, but yearly we are renovating, we are adding, we are removing and putting back on because time changes, and it's important for us to continue the narrative as time changes.
Starting around 2010, with the influx of tech companies into San Francisco, we saw dramatic rises in rent that were displacing some of the cultural anchors in our communities. But we as a preservation organization lacked the tools to protect them.
So for a long time, community organizers here in the Mission and also in cultural communities across the city were seeking out new preservation strategies and tools.
We started seeing, the sad part of what gentrification can do to a neighborhood, where the common folk, the working class folk that actually lives here could no longer afford.
People that have started businesses and were unable to pass it on to the next generation. These are pieces of living history that were being lost.
And so that's the reason the cultural district was established. And there isn't anything like that in the entire country. This is the first cultural district in the nation, and based on that fact that we went through the process and we prevailed, now in the city of San Francisco there are 8 cultural districts.
This is part of a growing national conversation, and Heritage has led these efforts with, for example, the creation of the Legacy Business Registry to recognize the importance of the living heritage embodied in these historic businesses. They are really the cultural undercurrent of our communities. They are what make our communities living and breathing places that we want to live.
So the Legacy Business Registry helps us in the sense that we will cement businesses that you could not find anywhere else. For example, where to buy your masa for tamales, where to buy your masa for tortillas. You know, there are very many things that you can buy here that you cannot find anywhere else. It is important for us to remember, you know, what was here before me, what was here before my parents.
So if historic buildings are the bones of our city's character, then the cultural communities and the businesses that occupy them really give our city its heart and its soul.